And now the schedule development. All roads end up here. This is where the combination of the activity list, network diagrams, activity resource requirements, and activity duration requirements represent the inputs that together can develop your schedule. Finally, we'll gently cover development of the schedule. There are several approaches, starting with the most common, using a network diagram. And using that network diagram, you can develop the critical path method, or CPM. This method is the one you've seen the most and has two major purposes. One, it calculates the project's finish date. And if you look at this network diagram, basically goes from left to right over time, with each of these letters indicating specific activities, and the arrows showing dependencies from one activity to the next. And the second major purpose is to identify the activities that, believe it or not, can slip without delaying the schedule. That's really what it comes down to, because things usually don't happen as you would expect, and you really want to know, if I hold off starting activity E because C is taking a little bit longer than expected, can I still make my schedule? And that goes into all this. We'll be covering that in another tutorial called Schedule Development using CPM. The critical path, and that's highlighted by these light blue activities in this example, is defined as the longest duration path through a network diagram. It also determines the shortest time to complete the project. That's why it's so important. Then we have something called critical chain method. It uses theories by Eliyahu Goldratt, which provides a unique way to view and manage projects' uncertainty by applying more resources in a way that lets you buffer time between activities so that you'll know how to start work as late as possible. This is definitely more complicated, but has benefit especially with software development, where the resource application and complexity of completing the work can be pretty daunting. Applying the critical chain method will usually adjust the network diagram. Finally, there's something called resource leveling. This is very interesting. Resources may be unrealistically assigned, and it varies by time, as shown here. On the y-axis is the number of resources, and as you can see, even though the network diagram shows the dependency that makes logical sense, the application of resources associated over time to get all that work done may be incredibly varied. Unless you analyze the resources used throughout your project, you may be making a horrible mistake. As you can see in this graph, the above network diagram may not be too realistic. No. By resource leveling, you can flatten out the work to better match staff members allocated throughout the project. Reapplication of resources will, like the critical chain method, most likely also change the relationship of the network diagram. But applying resource leveling should really help make the schedule realistic. Once you understand the mechanics of schedule planning, it can be a whole lot of fun. This may appear way too complicated, and there's no reason that you can't merge some practices together. And for those processes that aren't even important, well, don't use them. So now you know.